welcome to the Intern Whisperer Live, the show all about internships and how to survive them. This is Jason Ferrer, also known as Jason Pride.
This is Khalil.
This is Isabella. Reminder to our listeners that you can call us live on the air. The phone number is 407-582-2906. You can also chat with us online through Intern Pursuit's Facebook Live chat.
Coming up in this episode of Intern Whisperer Live is hashtag What I Learned Stories, coaching, innovation, and tips, great leaders that inspire you, and Wildcard Wednesday topics.
All right, so people can find us. How do they do that? They can go to Pivot Business Consulting's Facebook page, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, our YouTube page, and Google+. You can also go to Intern Pursuit's Facebook page. It's internpursuit.tech, by the way. We switched from .com to .tech. Internpursuit.tech, and you can find us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Instagram, and YouTube. Intern Pursuit Game is on Facebook and Twitter, and you can listen to us live on mixlr.com/Valencia College Radio and follow the Intern Whisperer. You can watch us live again on Facebook, Intern Pursuit, and the phone number is 407-582-2906. Guys, what is our hashtag, our secret hashtag or hashtag tonight, so that people, when they are listening, they can post it on Instagram?
Were we going to do hashtag Thrivers?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
With a Z.
Yeah.
With
So
a Z.
you want to?
THRIVERZ.
There
correct?
you go.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Very
Awesome.
good. So, Khalil.
Our first sponsor today is Omnimodal. Omnimodal believes smart cities and public transit services are the backbones of equitable shared mobility today and into the future. Omnimodal works with smart cities to connect all commuters across modes of transportation to the mobility as a service marketplace. Their website is omnimodal.io. Thank you, Omnimodal, for sponsoring the Intern Whisperer.
So tonight's guest is Candice. I just learned how to say your name tonight too. I've been saying it wrong all of this time. Czaplak.
Yes.
There
very
we go.
good, Very good.
She's an entrepreneur and the owner of Thrivers.com. Welcome, Candice.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Thank you. So one of the things that the guys on, anybody that is an intern on the show, they are being trained to do research, to help create the questions, to be able to interact and be a part of the show and be an associate producer. So Khalil has this month, and he had to research you. So he helped create these questions. So I'll go ahead and open, but then you guys can jump in on the questions too. So where did you attend college, and what was your degree? Because we're all about internships in college.
Yes. Well, I went to University of Buffalo up in Western New York. I'm a transplant to Florida. Yeah, my degree, I got 2 degrees actually.
I remember that.
Yeah, my first love, psychology. Got that degree first, and then I decided to get a second one in, it was called community mental health, but basically it was a social science interdisciplinary.
Yeah, and she also has a serious background in statistics.
Yes, I love statistics. I used to tutor, psych stats, which is different, I'm finding, with my son in high school statistics. Yes, psych stats was one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So the second question was not one that they found easily, and I added this one. So Khalil, it's your question.
Isabella mentioned some of your certifications, things such as MBTI, is that DISC or DISC?
Yes.
And neuro-linguistic programming, which sounds like a foreign language to me.
Right.
So, could you explain some of that?
Sure, I know. Alphabet
And
soup.
layperson terms. Yeah.
Yeah. My husband's, it's funny. My husband's a home inspector, and, realtors are always throwing out all these acronyms of their different certifications.
Their jargon,
and mortgage people have them too. So yes, alphabet soup. MBTI stands for Myers-Briggs Type Indicator of Personality. So that's the MBTI. It's a personality indices that is used worldwide by many corporations. Some colleges and universities actually use them through their career counseling departments. Different career counselors use them. It's a way to dive into who you are and how you're equipped, how you like to learn, whether you're introverted and extroverted. That's one of the primary indices on it that most people are familiar with. I use a lot with assessments and questionnaires to help people really understand their personal genius so they can leverage it in their career and their work and their life. So MBTI is one of those tools that I use. The second one is DISC. DISC it doesn't really stand for anything except for DISC, which is dominance, influence, stability, and control.
Okay.
Based, again, a behavioral style analysis tool that many, many people use. It's used very frequently in sales. Isabella, you use Estimate. Yeah.
I got certified in that one.
Yes, which is a variation of DISC theory that gets into it. That gets
It's a
into
deeper
it a
dive. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. It breaks out. There's 4 dimensions within DISC.
We have 8.
Yeah.
And our report is much shorter. It's got a heavy focus on positive language, making it a much simpler tool to be able to understand. There's a grit score, there's innovation. So it looks at different facets of people and their personality and how it impacts their behavior and their actions.
Yep. All based off the same theory. So there's lots of there's flowers and birds, basically anything that gets into what people call personality that has 4 different things, it's pretty much based on DISC. And then the other, neurolinguistic programming. So that's the weird one. NLP, as it's called, often referred to, neurolinguistic programming is misunderstood by a lot of people and used in different ways. So it kind of depends who you talk to, how they would explain what it is. The way I try to explain NLP and how I use it is we all use language and how we process things in our brain to code different things. Like we give experiences that we have meaning. We get meaning and make up definitions in our head based on what we're told growing up as children. Those kind of stories that replay over in our head that create our beliefs and our value systems and all of that. That's what I use NLP for, is to help people rewire and rework some of those beliefs that they have, limiting beliefs and different stories that they're telling themselves that aren't really serving them. I can also use it to help cure phobias, help people become better resourced and equipped in situations that give them anxiety, because we work with words and our modalities of how we see things, hear things, and feel things. And then, of course, you have gustatory and olfactory, too, which are how smell and taste. I don't get into too much of that. I use mainly the other 3, and we can work with those things and begin to kind of transform the meanings that we've attached to things in our brain.
So if a person tells themselves, for example, when they wake up in the morning, they go, "Oh, I look awful. I don't like this." You can help rewire that kind of thinking.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was just like a real simple example, so that I would like everybody to be able to understand it.
Yeah.
So the Myers-Briggs test, you're certified in the test?
Yes.
So
She can administer it.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
She can
a
give it.
certified MBTI practitioner.
Okay.
So I have DISC was never copyrighted or trademarked or anything. So all of that methodology and the original assessments and things that were out there, they were never protected by intellectual property. So anyone can take DISC information and use it and interpret it. Now, Myers-Briggs was way different. They have trademark, they have copyright, and you can't even get access to those official Myers-Briggs assessments unless you become a certified practitioner. So
That's interesting.
It's expensive to do it too. I know that. Yeah.
I know. In one of my classes in leadership, we had to take a DISC assessment things, and it's like interesting because they're like, "Oh, well, we're gonna help make you build into a leader and all this stuff. And first, you got to know yourself, and then it has like this little pie chart of like your strength, your weaknesses, and whatever." And I remember seeing like my lowest low was like military and I was like, I believe it.
yeah.
But I had like a dominant trait, which, I was surprised by that. I was like, me dominant? Like, I guess. It was, I guess, how I answered the questions or whatever.
Well, and it is because they're questionnaires, right? So it depends. Now, garbage in, garbage out, right? Or depending on your mindset. Now, sometimes in work situations, people use assessments like that, but they answer the questions the way they think their boss would want them to answer, or the way they think, the person who's hiring them, say they're an intern, if anyone ever gives you an assessment like that, like, don't try to anticipate and answer the questions how you think they want you to respond. You really
Answer
need
'em
to dig
honestly.
into your true self and your shoes off self is what I like to call it. But you can manipulate the,
Just like you can do with numbers, with words,
Yeah.
with anything. You can always change it,
Yeah.
skew 'em.
Yeah. But it's fun.
So isn't that like an incredibly long name for something? Neuro-linguistic programming. Linguistic obviously is the words. Neuro is inside of the brain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's just a fancy way of saying something that's, like how we talk to ourselves.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Well, and they're all connected. Emotions and things like that. If you're probably familiar with Tony Robbins, Anthony Robbins.
That sounds familiar, yeah.
Some of the work that he's a big motivational guru.
Coach, yeah.
He got his start kind of in his line of work with what he's doing now with the transformations he makes with people. Was neurolinguistic programming. So it deals a lot with state, like our emotions, the words that we use connected to our emotions, connected to our physical states, all come together and combine to generate this experience and shape our beliefs and what we think. So you can manipulate that from different angles, right? And it's fun.
It's very interesting.
It's not scary. It's fun.
No, it helps to understand that. I think how to communicate with other people. If you, again, like what you were saying, if you understand yourself, then you'll be able to. One of the things to communicate with others. But one of the things that was my biggest takeaway out of Myers-Briggs on that introverted and extroverted is our professor had said, so it's really not just how we, it doesn't mean shy or a person that talks a lot, it's how we process the communication. And so I was an extroverted communicator, and that meant, and it really helped me a lot, it takes me a long time to get to the point, and it's through the words I'm able to talk, and I go, okay. So I explain to people, it's kind of like the hurricane where I get to the point, but it's like way up here. Whereas introverted processors, if I'm talking super fast, they're going, what are you saying? Slow down. And I've learned to slow my speech pattern down. I've learned to really try and focus on what it is I want to say so I can communicate better to the introverted processor. And it also, the extroverted processors are sitting there going, what are you doing? Like, talk to me. So lots of words, trying to get to the point. It's really learning how to communicate with others better, not necessarily make them learn how to communicate with you. So I think that's the best takeaway.
Yes, there is a premise that I use called you've all heard of the golden rule, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Well, there's such a thing as the platinum rule. Because it's not about doing unto everyone else the way you would want them to do unto you, because they're not you. So it's really more about communicating with people, treating other people the way they want to be treated, not the way you want to be treated.
Okay.
So like you said, Isabella, if you're an extrovert and your first response is to talk or to, jump into the conversation, extroverts are usually the first ones to raise their hand, to answer the questions. They can really manipulate or monopolize, right, a conversation. Introverts, on the other hand, they think about things before they speak. And their words are generally a little bit more rare and reserved. So it takes them a little time to formulate what they're going to say. They think about it a lot more. So you don't want to, the goal, if you're an extrovert, communicating with an introvert, the most honorable thing to do for them, or honoring thing, is to treat them the way they want to be treated. So give them time to think. Don't be overbearing and speak too much, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I go with the Purpose-Driven Life. It was one of the most impactful books I had read before. The first sentence was, "It is not all about you." And that's really, it does resonate with me, because with just one person, we can make a difference. But if we remember it's not about me, it's really about you, it's about you, it's about you, then we don't focus on, why did they not respond to me? What is it that's going on? That makes it all about me. But if I sit here and I go, okay, why didn't they respond to me? I really don't know. I hope everything's okay. Then we take a more empathetic approach. We're more caring. We're really focusing on the other person.
Absolutely.
So I thought that you guys, this is totally different. We've never had like a psychological
No.
conversation
I love it, though.
or personality, and I was really looking forward to Candice and the insight that she brings. So
I don't know
this
how
is great.
far-fetched this may sound, but can you tell certain things about a person's personality by the way they speak?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The way they
Interesting.
speak. It's one of the
Body
things.
language.
Yeah. And you had the first key. It's first and foremost about understanding yourself. So I have a whole Thrive formula that I work with that's made the foundation of what Thrivers really is and what I'm looking to do with it. And the first is understand and relate well to yourself, because that's the absolute key. But then the second thing we need to consider is understanding and relating well to others. So we need to understand them and we need to relate well to them. Then, of course, we have environments and different contexts that we're in, that we operate in, work and home and life, and, from your office to your car up to, like the global, the global financial climate or political climate, right? Different things affect us in different ways. And the final piece of that is understanding and maintaining, or cultivating and maintaining, the right attitude and mindset. So those are the 4 pillars, essentially, of the Thrive formula. The second piece, when you said, can you understand, who people are, or learn more about how they're wired and how they may want to be treated based on how they talk? Yes, how they talk, the words that they use. So if you use the basis of DISC, and that's what I train people to do.
Right.
So that's part of my Thrivers online community and course that I'm launching, is to help people understand how to do that by understanding other people. DISC is one that's easy to use. There's 4 different languages, essentially, for the different behavioral styles. High D folks speak differently and use different words than a high I would use. They also dress differently. You can tell by the way that they're dressed, indicators of what type of personality or behavioral style the person may have. How they introduce themselves, how they shake hands, so physically, their demeanor. Another great way is how they dress. You can tell something by the jewelry. You can get some indications, right? And I always preface it, everybody is a completely and totally unique human being.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, we are all special in our own right.
Yes.
Yet the only way we understand what makes us special is in the contrast of how that's different from other people.
Right.
Or different from the average, or different from the norm.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
What we think is the norm, even.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. The biggest mistake we can make is to think that everybody else is just like us and everybody else likes the same things we like. And yeah. So I love teaching people how to do that. And it's very easy working with behavioral styles like DISC.
Wow.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you brought up like different outfits and even the way they dress. And I was
Yes.
like, gosh, I wonder how many people I've met, because I like to change my style like all the time.
Well,
Like,
and he models.
That,
so.
that in and of itself is actually an indication of
The personality.
a little bit of your, that would make me think that you're relatively high I.
really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I like that. Because when I first took the test, I don't know. Like, I think since I was like taking it with a friend. So I answered it a little differently. And I think that's why I think I need to retake the test and
do
do
you
it
remember-
by myself.
Do you remember your the personality type that you
Well,
fell
I got
into?
like type A dominance, and I was like, whoa. That's like really. You sound like my dad. No.
Mine was like mediator or something. I don't know the.
Okay.
Oh, I would see that
Yeah.
about you.
There's
yeah.
lots of
I
different
can
ways.
see that.
I don't remember like the specific code or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I have an electronic version. I will be happy to send it over to both of you, and
Oh.
you can take it again in your own time, and we'll see what the
Yeah.
results are. How's that?
sure.
Yeah.
And you can tell, yeah.
So when you do these tests, do you typically do them like, just them and then yourself, like just one-on-one? Or do you have like a prompt?
Well, I do them a variety of different ways. What I'm working on right now with Thrivers that I'll be launching hopefully the beginning of the year, 2019, is an online course that we'll walk everyone through. The assessments themselves are all digitized now, so they're they're online, and there's some instructions that I offer prior to diving into the questionnaire to make sure that they're in the right frame of mind. And but then they answer the questions online. The results come to me, and sometimes I go through really in-depth analysis and walking them through how does this demonstrate in your life? Is it true? Is it not true? What do you think about it? How does it apply to your work? How does it apply to your leadership if you're an executive leader or an entrepreneur? And also for younger people too. I mean, I've used it with my own kids. Yeah. Well, yeah, because if you the whole goal, right, for me of creating Thrivers is I really want to fundamentally transform the way we think about and the way we do life, work, learning, and leadership. Because what used to work before doesn't work now. And I believe that we need to get much more self-focused, not selfish, right? But we need to do a better job of focusing in on
how
what
to be
is
able
it
to serve others and be with people.
from your authentic self. Like,
Yes.
how do you build a career? You guys are, you're students, right?
Yeah.
You have interests, which I would hope is the guiding factor that's leading you towards these experiences of internship and, informing your career choices and the choices you're making with what you're studying. The more we can make that about what we really love and what suits us, using your own personal genius, because you guys each have gifts, talents, and abilities that lend themselves to certain things in certain situations. And I don't think we do a good enough job of setting ourselves on the right path to do things that serve us. We listen to everybody else and say, oh, well, my dad said to do that, and my mom said to do this, and my brother did this, and he made a lot of money, so maybe I'll just go and do that same thing.
Yeah.
Instead of really digging into who am I, what do I want, what kind of environments do I enjoy, what kind of people do I like being around.
You really need to spend time understanding yourself.
Yeah,
Really.
absolutely.
I feel like that happens too often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've had this conversation with many of them. I know Khalil and I have also talked to some. What is it that you love doing? What is it that you want to do? Where is it that you see yourself going? And don't just be in the moment. You need to be able to think like, what do I want to do? And I had a really hard time. I was originally going to be a lawyer because that's what, everybody was doing at the time. So I'm identifying totally with what you're saying.
Yeah.
And then I was a criminology major. And I went, nope, I do not, because I looked at what the options were and I went, I don't want to do that. And I sat down and through no prompting, but it was actually the self-reflection going, well, what am I good at? And that's the conversation, right? And I went, I like to read, I like to write, I like to research. So I chose my degree based on the things that I like to do and went, I can make a life out of that. And I think that's the important takeaway for you guys is what is it that you're really good at and you love doing? And then realize that doesn't mean you're going to do it for the rest of your life. It's just for a snapshot of your life, however long that is.
Well, because it always evolves. It grows and
Absolutely.
it changes, and you change, and your interests change. And
Public classroom teacher,
Yeah.
moved over into higher ed, went the entrepreneur route. Like, did you ever think you would be doing like what you're doing now? No, it's like we evolve.
No, not really. Well, and when I started, like in college and stuff, we didn't even have the internet. I mean, I'm dating myself, but seriously, we didn't. Like
not that old,
podcasting,
really.
what the heck was podcasting? Didn't exist. You had radio.
Yeah.
And I always thought, well, that'd be kind of cool, but it was never something. It was never something I allowed to get into my sphere of existence long enough to really examine. Is that possible? Like, could I do that? That's another thing that I would encourage everyone listening to do is just the quality of the questions you're asking yourself about your life and your work and the path that you want and what you want to do for the rest of your life and who you want to spend time with and all of those things. You just need to focus on asking better questions. Dig deeper. Open the possibilities, right?
And realize you have
What
to
would it
keep
look
asking.
like if you tell yourself, no, I can't do that.
Then
First
you're
thing you
right,
should
yeah.
ask is why.
Yeah.
You know
Well,
why?
you
Why do
won't
you
do it if
believe
you tell
that? What
yourself.
if it was possible? What if it was possible?
Yeah, I remember. I forgot where I saw this. People are always looking for the meaning of life, for the answer, the ultimate answer. But you really should be finding the question, not the answer, something like
Yes.
that.
Yep.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it really varies for every person.
Yeah.
If you ask what is the meaning of life, it's going to have a different answer for every person.
Right,
Yeah.
of
Because
course.
we are all different.
Yeah.
We're all the same. The funny thing is, like in middle and high school, we're trying so desperately to be the same and be cookie cutters.
I know.
But the thing is we really need to be embracing who we are individually, because that is who we are. We are different. There are things that, yeah, we look the same. We're both women, but that doesn't mean we're the same person
Nope.
at all.
Yep. And you need to live your life, and I need to live mine.
Exactly.
Yep.
So you briefly went over Thrivers and like what is it and like where is it right now? Its current
What is
state.
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good question.
It is, yeah, it is a very good question. It's been, like I said, it's a journey, and it's all in evolution. And I believe that as individuals, but particularly in entrepreneurship. And that's been very true in my journey and my path. The different things that I've done and the different businesses that I've owned have all informed and equipped me to be where I am now. And where things are now is Thrivers. So I had Success Catalyst for a long time. That was what I called my business. I was focused more on coaching, consulting, and training, one-on-one, more locally based. Did some speaking and things with that. Remember the John Maxwell team, all that good stuff. I was just feeling pulled to go more online, and really feeling that I wanted to serve a broader audience and make a bigger impact. And through self-awareness things, I journal and I meditate and I spend time with myself and I ask questions and see what happens. And the Thrive formula came to me really as a framework that in a message that I wanted to share and get out to people, if they could realize that just focusing on these 4 different areas and maximizing them in anything, whether it's leadership, your relationships, your family, your personal life, decision making, any of it, maximizing just those 4 things can have a dramatic impact on increasing your success and your fulfillment and joy out of what it is that you're doing. So that came along, and then I started asking the question, well, okay, I have this. What's my, how am I supposed to be getting this out to people? What is it about me that's unique? What's my personal genius that I can bring to this to get it out there to impact the world? So my vision for Thrivers came about. So basically, Thrivers at the foundation of the broadcasting mechanism, so to speak, to let people know about me and what it is the podcast. That's coming out, and of course, doing these things and other speaking engagements. So I have the Thrivers podcast that'll be launching in the next couple of weeks. I interviewed some will be solo podcasts, but mainly it's me interviewing other people, generally entrepreneurs who've gone through changes or shifts. They've either made career shifts to line things up better with what it is that they want. They've gained some additional self-awareness and tuned more into who they are and what they really want, and have made shifts and changes to really thrive in their business and their life. So that's really cool. I'm loving that. And then the other piece is I have a Thrivers online community. So there'll be 2. Right now there's a free community. So as people learn more about me and learn about Thrivers, the free community will grow where people can gather and be supported. And then the next phase of that is, like I mentioned, the course. I really want to take the Thrive formula that I have and then the tools that I have with the self-awareness tools. So I have DISC. I also have a values assessment that I like to use with people, a values questionnaire, which informs the whole, why do we do what we do, right? The behavioral styles is how do we demonstrate who we are in the world? What do we like to do for behavior and how do we act? The values is all why. What's driving you behind that? And then there's an attribute index that I use as well that gets into how our brains are wired, how we like to think, if we're empathetic thinkers or systematic thinkers, which adds a whole nother dimension to all of it. So the course is going to bring all of that together with the formula in hopes to really help people live the lives they really want to live and make decisions for their life and their business and their career based on what is authentically them and what their true genius is. So I'll have the course that'll be a standalone course, and then I'll have a membership as well, primarily focused around pouring into and helping entrepreneurial change agents. So folks like you, Isabella, who are out there as consultants, fellow consultants and speakers and coaches and trainers, I want to expand my impact in helping people by helping the people who help people. Does that make sense? So I want to add value to those people who go out and add value to others. So I'll be looking to bring them on, and then they'll be able to have access to the Thrivers tools so that they can use those tools and assessments and the Thrive formula with their corporate clients, with their individual clients, and ideally create a ripple effect. Yeah,
That's
Wow.
super exciting.
it is. It's very exciting.
And I've known you, gosh, is it like 3 years, 4 years?
Yeah,
Like as well.
it's been a while.
And I've seen how you've morphed and changed also. So it's,
Yeah.
something it's cool to see.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All for the good, I hope.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if somebody's saying it's cool to see, I hope so.
Yeah,
I
right.
hope it is good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as I was doing my research on you, and I came across like your YouTube channel, and I was watching your videos, and I was also like writing out these questions, I was like, oh my goodness, like she does so much. And then I was like, how does she manage to have a healthy balance between a mother, because being a mom is a full-time job. I know that. I see how my mom does it. But then like you have more than one Thrivers online community, then Thrivers, and you're pushing out this podcast. You're doing so much. Like, how do you maintain a healthy balance?
Well, I think balance is bogus, number one. Like true balance really is, I mean, there's other words that I could use, but I won't. Right? A friend of mine has a book that's actually titled Balance is BS.
Yeah.
But, you know, those
That's
words.
safe. We're
yeah.
rated a G show.
Yeah,
so,
I'm keeping it G, no problem. Balance, traditionally, and I have a whole program that I teach on this, it's not about finding balance so much as harmony, or finding what I like to call your personal balance point. So have you seen those rocks? This is radio, so it's kind of hard. But have you seen those rocks that people do where they, they'll line up and they've got different balance,
when they
and
stack 'em?
yeah, they stack them,
Okay.
but they're not. It doesn't make a nice, cute little pyramid that's all symmetrical. They're lining up at crazy different angles and different points.
Weights.
Yeah, that's kind of how I look at balance. I'm fortunate. I have a very supportive family system. I have a husband who's also an entrepreneur. So we get to create our own schedules, which is why I love entrepreneurship. I get to do my own thing. Nobody else gets to tell me what to do. I make my own schedule, and I decide when I want to work and how I want to work. And sometimes that's 14 days in a row, 8-10 hours a day. And then other times it's like, nope, I'm not. It's Tuesday and I'm not working today. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go shopping with my kids, or I'm, gonna go get a pedicure. It just support definitely helps. The other thing that really helps is loving what you do. I love what I do so much, and my boys are older now. They're 16 and 13, so it's not like it was when they were teeny little babies.
Right.
It was harder then. But now it's a lot easier. They fend for themselves and actually help. My 16-year-old son edits my podcast.
I was
Awesome.
actually going to say, plus, your sons have grown up seeing an entrepreneurial lifestyle, so that's probably what they're going to gravitate to. So
And they both
know
are.
the highs and the lows.
Yes, they both are. We know what we see. That's another important point, I think, for everybody listening, because don't be afraid. Allow yourself to expand and get curious beyond what you know or what you've been exposed to. I see a lot of folks that are really, really wired for entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
But they've never seen it. They don't have
No,
they don't
this is
have that
hard.
experience, right? Yeah. My father was an entrepreneur, hardcore entrepreneur. So was my grandfather. So I grew up around it. I knew what I was in for. And my kids don't know any different. Like, they don't know what it's like to actually have a job. Like to go some other
Right.
place and have a job. They've never seen that from myself, my husband, or their grandfather. Their grandmother really is the only one on my husband's side that worked for someone else, and they don't really want any part of it. So just, if you haven't had exposure to it, just get out, be curious, and
also know it really, and don't be afraid, because like we're entrepreneurs, but it's doesn't mean it's for everybody, and it's okay to be an employee also. It doesn't
absolutely,
mean, there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Nothing wrong with that.
God
bless people.
I love
can.
employees.
I really, God bless people who can. And that's what it's all about. Do you? And that's what thriving really is. If that's how you're wired, and that's what you want, and that's what makes you happy, do that.
I've seen a movement that's now, I think it's catching on in the workplace, where there is a lot more focus on the employee and employee experience, and recognizing that is part of your marketing, your sales force. They're going out and telling people. So I do feel that there's a place where it's getting to be more fluid, and how it's not like, no, this is the way it is. There's like opportunities to work from home, and then there's, flexible hours.
Absolutely.
And, bring your dog to work even. So it can be anything.
And I really hope, and that's why I'm working with the change agents, primarily with the Thrivers, is I'm hoping to see more cultures, more corporate cultures, more organizational
Impacted
cultures,
for the positive.
focus on understanding the people that they have and developing their people and giving their people what their people need and want, instead of making the people fit the business or the policy or the procedure. If we could work the other way around and let our human capital and the creativity and innovation and skills and passion and joy, if we can cultivate that more within the people we have in an organization, and use that to inform what we do, that's what I call having a thrive culture.
It actually is growing, yes.
Yeah.
So I know you guys work together on the questions. So what's the next question then?
Go ahead.
Okay. So when I was watching one of your videos, you were saying something about like you shouldn't work hard, you should work focused.
Yes.
Do you mind elaborating on that?
Okay. So and we already covered the NLP, the neuro-linguistic programming.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you. So do you want to work hard?
I don't know. Everyone always told me to like, you got to work hard. But at the same time, I think you have to work smart.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's what it's about. It's about the story that we tell ourselves. So here we're saying, essentially, by telling this, and that's the story. You're right. It's the story we're all told. Hard work, struggle, sacrifice. You got to sacrifice. You got to work hard to get where you want to go. If you want to make anything out of yourself, you got to work hard. No, you don't. You don't have to work hard. You have to figure out what it is that you want, use your strengths, because when you work in your genius zone and your zone of strength, everything is easier. It's not hard. It's the exact opposite of hard. When you love it and you're passionate about it, and it's what you're meant to do because it's how you're equipped and you're strong at it. I mean, that's what you need to look for. You need to look to create a work environment and a career that's centered around what you love naturally. What would you do and if you didn't get paid for it? What do you do anyway? What do you do in your spare time? What do you love? That's not hard work. It's not hard. It's actually the opposite. It's easy.
Blogs about coffee. I'm just going to go back.
Blogs about, okay, that's an inside joke that just went way over my head.
Yeah. Coffee blogs.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's about, and the cliche is work smarter, not harder. And yes, that's true. And that's what I help people do, because sometimes people just don't know what their genius is. And that's where I come in with the Thrive formula and the assessments, and that's what the course is going to help them do, is dive into that and begin to ask better questions and ask the right questions of themselves to unpack it and see what is my genius. And then they can work smarter, not harder. But focus is the key too, because you can sit and spend 10 hours working on something, and someone else can come in. If they're focused and it's in their zone of genius, they can do the same thing in 2 hours. So it's not about picking something. It's not about picking our weaknesses and trying to make them stronger or be better at this or be better at that. It just takes too much effort and energy, and it is hard.
Do you
So
think?
we have 5 minutes left, guys. So we have to make sure you get to ask the last question, and then we're moving on.
Oh, you're
Okay.
fine.
Go ahead, you go.
I was just gonna ask something about what she was talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
Specifically, students. Do you think they develop the work smarter mentality earlier, or are we just thrown into this?
Honestly, I don't know. I think there's a lot more room probably now than there maybe used to be with technology to kind of find your own way.
Yeah.
But most of the structures that I see with education at high school level, middle school level, even, college, they're still very structured, and it's still very like, do what I'm telling you to do because I'm telling you to do it. And
Yeah.
there's not
It's a slow-moving beast in
Yeah.
education.
there's not as much room for exploring what is your best way. And unfortunately, we've gotten away from, like, colleges used to do MBTI. I know they did at UB when I went to
they've
school.
moved away from it. They've gone to other tools that are more current, and they wanted to have, more analytical data that they could
Yeah.
give and user-friendly. So,
Yeah.
for all of those reasons. But there's still tools that they all use, whether it's Strength Finders, which is from Gallup, or, any of the other things. Some of them use this, but they're moved over into, like, Strength Finders right now. That's where
Yeah.
I've seen them move.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so inspiring leaders, who are yours and why?
I was thinking about that because I thought that might be a question. And I have to say, I mean, there's some, I'm very inspired by leaders. I'm a member of the John Maxwell team, so he's definitely one of them. But what inspires me the most are the thrivers that I see, the everyday
People that you've met
people
in your
that,
journey.
yeah, like some of the people that I've been interviewing for the podcast that are just living their journey. It doesn't have to be the ones that are out there getting all the glory or that have the biggest platform. I mean, my kids inspire me as leaders, the way they lead themselves, and my parents, and lots of other business owners and young people that I meet that are just, it's inspiring.
Very good. We have to go to our second sponsor. So,
right.
Jason?
All right, our second sponsor is Create the Movement. They believe in creating a movement that takes two things, the right people and the right message. Finding the right people takes laser focus and extensive research. Crafting the right message requires in-depth market knowledge and constant tweaking. It's not about thinking outside of the box. It's about knowing what your box is made of and using it to your advantage. Thank you, Create the Movement, for sponsoring the Intern Whisperer Live.
Okay, so I want to give Q a shout out. We have some technology issues today. Thank you, Q, for coming down and saving us. We love you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Valencia College East Campus. You give us this great studio to work out of, and we love that. Knowledgeable staff. Again, thank you, Q. And all of the professors and the other people, the administrators, and, of course, students that are here. So, shout outs. Khalil.
Hey, shout out to Abby who tuned in for a bit. Shout out to my mom if she's watching, and to all our viewers.
Very nice. Jason.
So I want to give a special shout out to Cedric Jenkins because he's the director of the documentary that is made about me, which the trailer will be released sometime next week, and then the official documentary will be released Halloween.
Very nice. A documentary. Well,
Documentary.
congratulations. What's it
Thank you.
called?
It's called Jason Pride Chasing Glory.
Very
wow.
nice.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Where's
Thank
it
you.
releasing?
On my Instagram, I'm going to try doing it on IGTV. You don't have to download the app. You could just go on Instagram, click there.
Awesome.
Got it.
Awesome.
Super cool. So you're up. What's your shout out? Who is it to?
Well, I'd like to give a shout out to all of you.
Oh,
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show. And your questions were awesome. I appreciate them. And I don't know. It's just been a lot of fun.
we could have, if only we had more time.
Yeah.
It blows. It just always blows so fast.
I can
It
talk.
does.
We
Yeah.
know this.
So my shout out goes to all of the people that I've had the privilege of working with, past, present, and future. Thank you to these two guys that are across the table from me. Thank you to Candice, and And I also want to give just a special shout out to everybody that works remotely on the game team and my software team, and Gonzalo and Ariel. Thank you guys.
Oh, and
All
I
right.
have to say hi, Katrina.
Yeah, she's always a given. Yeah. Okay, so go ahead and take us out.